wow, I wonder if Zoom will screw this one up too. Sorry, I got to say that because I've been a subscriber, a paid subscriber to Zoom for years. And then suddenly this year we start doing podcasts, and some of you have been noticing, yeah, we've had 1 or 2 second gaps here and there in the audio. That's Zoom doing it, and I don't know why. So if you've been encountering that, I've told you all in the chats, the commentary and all that, that's why it's happening. I've already sent multiple complaints to them. I've been to the point, look, guys, I'm about 2 seconds from going to StreamYard because then I can do this crap live. I can get a group of people in here live, and even with the free version, I can put at least on one thing, so I can put on YouTube live. It's like, so y'all better start fixing this, or sayonara. It's like you're going to save me a few bucks a month. But okay, now that you know about my Zoom woes, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Omega Files. Tonight, we're going to try to cram 2 episodes into one because, like I said, last weekend was Chicago TARDIS. We had a blast there, met Colin Baker, and that guy has got a sense of humor and a half. I got to say that right off the bat. I met Michael Jason, who played the Valyard, that evil guy that was supposedly beyond the one. It was an amalgamation to the Doctor's dark side from beyond his 12th and final incarnation. And, well, you see how all that all turned out. But we're going to start off with Village of the Angels. Village of the Angels, interesting episode in of itself. Weeping Angels brought back, and boy, were they creepy. So we're going to start at the bottom this time because I believe we started at the top last time. I don't know. I don't keep track anymore. But I say we'll just start at the bottom. Let's start with DWC. What were your thoughts on Village of the Angels?
So, Village of the Angels, and can I just say, I wrote this last week before we actually saw episode 5, so this is more relevant to how it was at the time. From their humble beginnings, all we knew of the angels was that they sent you back in time and turned to stone when observed. As time has gone on, they've had their powers explained to the point of becoming one of the most frightening aliens of the show. And this episode brought all of that power in full force. Reintroducing Claire Brown from the first episode of the series, we now know she's a psychic. A bit odd for a science fiction, but given psychics have appeared in episodes such as Planet of the Dead, this isn't out of place for Doctor Who. All suggests she does not believe it's 1967 when she knows it is. Well, polygraphs are just heart monitors anyway and don't really detect lies. On the search for the little girl, Peggy, after mistaking the angel for a scarecrow, Dan and Yaz are sent to 1901. Odd, given their different ages, so by the rules of the angels, should have been sent to different times. Same for sending Gerald and Jean to 1901, even though they'd be too old to live to 1967. Who knows, maybe it's all to do with the quantum extraction. Also, nobody survives the angel twice? Well, that contradicts the angels in Manhattan, where Rory was sent back multiple times. Meanwhile, as Belle searches for Vinda, she runs into Blake Harrison from The Inbetweeners as Namaka, who Belle saves from Ravagers who are collecting survivors of the Flux. But what for? Luckily, his doctor protects Claire Brown, who is becoming an angel like Amy Pond. With the help of Professor Jericho from the Angels, the Doctor learns that the Angels are part of the Division, and that the Division uses people from every species, meaning 1, the Division is not just a Time Lord thing, and 2, there are Daleks in the Division. However, as it was all for nothing, on the words, "You have been recalled to Division," the Doctor has been transformed into an angel in front of her companions, which the angels have allowed to observe. Overall, this episode is the cruelest the angels have ever been, and it seems impossible to tell where they're going to escape this one.
I know, I thought that was a really nifty touch at the end of the episode. That's something we haven't seen before. Okay, definitely. Okay, next up, let's go to William.
Hey, now, everybody. I got to give props. This episode made the... You got to give them props for that. But and then what I didn't like on this episode and the next episode It's the nonsense with the two lovebirds that cannot meet each other because so far they really got nothing to do with this story, unless what I'm speculating is they're the adopted parents and they're the one who's going to drop that kid off. Man, I don't care if it turns out wrong, I'm wrong. It turns out true, too bad. It's right there in the wall. The writing's right there. You can read it because all you see is them looking for each other, and then of course now one got okay, that's next episode. One is doing something else now. You got to give credit. You got to give credit. What the thing is when the angels zap people in back in years, at least they were trying to do a way to escape from it. But of course the little girl, she ends up living her life because we see her future self age 60 years from like 70 something probably. So that tells you right there. Of course, the two older couples, they touched the angel again, and we saw what happened with them. What was unusual is with the companions, they stuck there. At least they didn't sit down and suck their thumb. We find out that they keep moving along. I'm totally shocked. I was totally shocked the way it ended. That you saw the doctor becoming an angel. So I was like, oh man, I can't wait to see the next episode to find out what happened. We're going to talk about it in a few minutes. So you got to get props for that. That ending and the way they used the angels was a great story right there. Everything else that's going around it, that's outside this story, I don't really care about it because to me, some of it might not get any resolution. Considering we're going to review the next episode, going to wrap up, but I got to give props. This episode stood out, so I got to give them that. That's my opening statement there.
I know. I think this one beat the crap out of the Angels Rake Manhattan any day of the week, but that's just me. Okay, Bo.
Is to me the weeping angels were really creepy in this episode, and I reckon this episode is the second best weeping angels one. With Blink being my first favorite weeping angels episode. We see Claire again only to find out that she's possessed by the rogue angel, and kind of like the Doctor running away from the Time Lords, like in the classic era. The rogue angel is running away from its own kind, and I like that weeping angels used the Professor's own voice against him. I thought that was really creepy. And also, I like the reference to the Ring movie where the weeping angel comes out of the TV. And also considering that Peggy was told that she can't go back to her own time zone, I'm wondering what that will mean for Dan and Yes. Like, would the Doctor be able to save them or not? And also, after finding out the weeping angels are working for the division, would that mean that the division is the CIA before it became the CIA, or is it an extension of the CIA? Or there's just some kind of a black ops thing going on there? And I like the bit at the end where the weeping angels converted the Doctor into one of them. So yeah, it was a really great episode, and it'll be interesting to find out what's going to happen in the next episode. It was really great.
Okay, now for you youngin fans out there who don't know this, just for clarification, because we didn't bring this up before about the CIA. The CIA in Gallifreyan terms means Celestial Intervention Agency. They were a group of like rogue Time Lords who behind the scenes were doing that nasty evil thing which Time Lords don't like, which is interfering. Because for you folks who are fans of the original series, I'm just go over this real quick before we go to AJ. The Time Lords, when they first became very, very advanced and all that, said, okay, we're going to go forth and share our gifts with others. And the first race they encountered was a race called the Minions, which, it goes M-I-N-Y-A-N-S, Minion, from Minyos, Minions. And what happened was they gave them technology and all that. They helped them along. But then the Minions wiped each other out. because of the war with the technology and all that. It was, I can't remember if it was like a nuclear war or something like that, but then that led to an episode called Underworld, which took place all the way back in the Tom Baker about 1977. So that's why the Time Lords have that strict like prime directive type deal where, or temporal prime directive, whichever one you go for, that they do not interfere. That's why, because they did once and it did not end well. Okay, AJ.
This one to me felt a bit like Night of the Living Dead meets the Village of the Damned. It's a creepy village. It's the same writer who did the Haunting the previous season with Mary Shelley was the same writer as that. So it's got that sort of horror vibe to it. I'm kind of getting sick and tired of two time places at the same time. Like it's the same location, but in two different time periods. They've done that, 3 times now? It's a trope now. Aspect with the Weepy Angels trying to break into the house and Claire being the host of an angel and everything else that happened up till the end where we find out the angels worked for the division and the Doctor gets transported away. That kind of felt like, how can you tame an angel? I mean, they're pretty ravenous. So I like the horror aspects, but then the sci-fi aspects of the division and all that sort of kind of ruined it a little for me, I think, so far.
Yeah, they've done it a few times back. They did at least the one time I remember in the classic series when they did that all the way back in Modern Undead, where you had the one group that was in 1977 and or something like that, and then or 76, something like that, and the other group was in 1983, and then you had that all going on there. Like I said, don't Google it. Okay, Google it, because I'm going off memory here, and sometimes the hard drive isn't running right. Okay. But yeah, it was an interesting, episode in the fact that, like he said, it kind of combined Night of the Living Dead with, it's like Night of the Living Angels, or Night of the Weeping Angels. There we go. There's an episode title that's waiting to be made. And like it really had that creepy aspect where they're trying to keep them out. Plus, I gotta say, I love Kevin McNally's character, what was his last name again? I remember his first name's Eustachian, because that's a really weird name.
Jericho.
It's Eustachian Jericho. I love that character so far. It's just so well done. Plus, this one was co-written by Maxine Alderton, who wrote The Haunting of Villa Diodati, however you pronounce it, and she's really good at capturing that gothic horror feel. It's like, ooh. Well, okay. So, any other thoughts on Village of the Angels you want to go over, or anybody?
Yeah,
any comments?
The funny thing is that we know, us watching the thing, we know that there's nobody living there even now because of what happened, and even the next episode we're gonna review, it mentions that nobody lives there no more, and they just use it for training like that. It was very unusual because remember some people went back to 1901 and 1967 like that. So that's funny that that village has no people living there, and we know the answer to that because this is a new Who. It wasn't. You could say none of the classic Who would have mentioned that there's a village that nobody lives there for many years like that. It wasn't brought up.
I know it's kind of got that Centralia, Pennsylvania feel now, but all right. For reference, guys, before I go to DWC, Centralia, Pennsylvania is a little city here in the United States. Nobody currently lives there because there is a coal fire going on underneath it. It's been going on for quite a while, and they estimate it probably won't burn itself out for at least a century or more. And it was started as a result of a bunch of idiots who went out to I guess it was a landfill, and they burned their garbage, and it turns out the one layer between it and the coal mine had gone in when they dumped the last load of trash in and set it on fire, and that ignited the coal underneath, and now that whole region underneath is on fire to this day. It was the inspiration for Silent Hill, for you folks who are gamers. Okay, DWC.
Yeah, one thing that I didn't put in opening thoughts, but kind of interesting was among their many new powers that we seem to establish with them, like, well, we already knew they could come through pictures, but apparently among one of them, interestingly, was, well, the bit with both Peggies. It seems the angels can actually place two times in the same location. Well, that's a new one. Is that a result of the quantum extraction? I have no idea.
I know, weird quantum extraction. All right, AJ. You got to unmute, AJ.
Sorry, I noticed when they were breaking through the house, the angels, they were like, where do we go? Where do we go? We're safe. And they're like, in the basement. Went, you idiots. You haven't seen Night of the Living Dead because it's a year in the future, and you went in the basement and you got trapped. Also, towards the end, the angels, they form a letter A at the end of the episode too. Why? A for Angels, Los Angeles baseball team? I don't know.
I know that was kind of a weird formation there. Yeah, because come on, even in the new Night of the Living Dead 1990, they showed you all the mistakes they made, for crying out loud. You should have at least seen the upgrade. Yeah, going in the basement, probably not a good idea. But all right, DWC.
Yeah, AJ actually just reminded me with the angels in general. We established that the angels, or those angels at least, were part of Division, which just makes me go, blimey, how many weeping angels did they need? The Division need? They obviously needed that many for what's meant to be a covert operation. Surely something covert would need very few operatives at any one point, but apparently you need that many angels for an extraction process.
Well, it's the doctor. We better send in the whole team. Okay. Okay, we're going to rate both episodes at the end. So, any more thoughts on Village of the Angels? Okay, we'll call that segment completed. All right, let's move on to last week's episode, Survivors of the Flux. A lot of exposition, a lot of time zone jumping thrown at you, and of course, we go into the origin stories of Unit. Now, the great thing about this episode is the fact that we once again finally get to see Kate Stewart, and we find out exactly why Unit hasn't not been present and what happened and all that. Okay, we're going to start at the top for this one, and we're going to go with AJ. What are your thoughts on Survivors of the Flux?
Well, I only saw the once. I haven't seen it since then when it aired, but I thought it was an okay episode. I mean, the bits and pieces with the Grand Serpent was kind of a little bit James Bondy, I guess. You know, he was like quietly threatening people politically, and then he kills them. I guess we really didn't need. Budget wouldn't allow for it in the UN or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It didn't have to be explained away. It didn't need it. I guess for the purposes of the episode, maybe that's what they want. Quite a bit of comedy in this one too. I'm not sure about the comedy still. He's trying to be a darker and comedy at the same time. Pick one. That's what I'm thinking, at least anyway, so far.
Okay, Bo.
Yeah, this was a good episode, but it was a little bit confusing. Like, it was a bit hard to get my head around because there was so many things happening in it. But turns out the Weeping Angels converted the dog into one of them just to transport her over to Tecteun's ship, space station, whatever you want to call it. And also you've got Vin looking for Belle. I like the small voice cameo from the Brigadier, even though I didn't recognize it straight away. It took me another a second watching of the episode to recognize it, to pick it up. I like the Grand Serpent. I thought he was a really great villain, and I liked how he was trying to interfere with Unit's history. And I like the way he kills people as well. And I like the Hermit too. I thought the Hermit was really funny. Yeah. and and we find out that Tectayun is responsible for the Flux. She's been planning to release it and escape to another universe. And also I think that Tectayun is a little bit of a hypocrite. She's accusing herself, and the division has been interfering with events as well. And also she also interfered with the Doctor's life the moment she kidnapped her, and she said she said the Doctor came to the black hole when she found it, but how does she know the Doctor did come through there? I mean, the Doctor could have just been standing near there waiting for someone. And I like that we saw Kate Stewart again. No, but I kind of have a bit of a feeling that she might be killed off in the next episode. And I just hope I'm wrong. Turns out that the Grand Serpent is working with the Sontarans to make it easier for them to invade Earth. I like that the Doctor was threatening to stop Tectayun only for the Swarm to come in and do it for her. We find out that the Swarm was imprisoned by the division, and now Swarm wants revenge. And yeah, that's all I'd say on it. But it was good, but at the same time a little bit confusing. But just before we move on to someone else, Dr. Freedom, you put out a video. I'm wondering if Bill and Vinna might be the Doctor's parents. Well, I just want to put my own little theory to that. What if they turn out to be the Master's parents?
I've heard that one too. That's a frightening thing. Dun dun dun. All right, William.
Hey, now once again, okay. Now we go to the second to last episode of the season. The opening was pretty cool. That we see how the Doctor got out from being an angel, but I wish they would have kept an angel there and did the same thing to the angel just to see what the angel would have looked like, not petrified. Finally, we see what one looks like. You can just for a little while, and of course, the angel could have been dismissed to do something else. It would have been, just interesting, because it makes me feel like the Doctor's gonna need that little thing on her all the time to stay looking human, because if not, it's gonna revert to a weeping angel. So I wanted to see more of that. Upsetting that the angels was not used in this episode after the mission was done, and that's a little bit upsetting because, like, as we know, the weeping angels are not used in say like a militaristic way. They just there to survive for themselves. And then the amount of angels that was there in the previous episode, I was like, that's a lot of freaking angels. They're getting anything out of it from doing these missions like that. It was another thing upsetting is that we see Titania, the woman who raised the Doctor, is the one behind all this. Like, she didn't, in the history with the we knew her, she wasn't like that. Even the little bit we saw last season, she didn't behave nothing like that. She found a child. She raised the child as her own. She was almost in shock that she saw the child fall off a cliff and almost die. And of course, when the child showed regeneration, her being a scientist first, and then of course the rest of her people, and they became the Time Lords. And I'm a bit shocking how this makes her the leader of all this. Then what happened to all the Time Lords and all the time they involved to correct history when it's been corrupted in some way? That makes no sense there. And then of course everybody's upset because now you're making that the doctor's been all these regenerations, and then since way back we've been hearing about there's supposed to be a limit on how many regenerations Time Lord had, and of course somebody can say, well, the doctor wasn't really a Time Lord because we find that out. No, she just said she don't know she came through that thing or not, you know, and then even if she didn't have a limit of regeneration, who told her that? And every time the doctor regenerated her and rebuilt too, that makes no sense that a little clock, the little thing has a complete memory. That makes no sense right there. That means you could do that to anybody a Time Lord, wipe them out and use them the way you want to. That makes no sense right there. I mean, if that was the way, if that was possible, either Omega or Rassilon would have took complete control of Gallifrey to do what they want. That makes no sense. Now again, the lovebirds keep missing each other and not finding them. And of course, I forgot his name. The guy, he got grabbed and got sent inside, but he met the girl of Dan. So that's pretty cool. So hopefully something better comes out of that. But a funny joke, I just realized a joke there that the wife, she's in the ship that's on Earth, and remember she's pregnant. So that means a funny little joke that the eighth doctor said might happen, that my mother's half human. Joke there. That'd be a funny joke if that happens. If it turns out to be the doctor's parent and she give birth on Earth. The thing with Unit was pretty cool, and you got to give a shout out that they mentioned the war machines. They said we missed out on the radio station when they had to deal with Wotan. So that was a good shout out there. And of course, we heard a little voice of somebody imitating the Brigadier in the room like that, even though they show who it was. But and the thing is that the snake, we don't know how he fits in this main story, because if he doesn't fit in the next episode, which is the finale, and goes into the specials, there ain't no way it was a wasted character, because you could have done that in specials and built that up. You know, so that was a waste there. It's good to see Dan and this girl keep going on their mission, trying to find a doctor and try to get home. But AJ made a statement that in a way that that makes me think the work. You cannot do that. So that makes me wonder, does the final 3 episodes gonna have the doctor meeting them every time in the past, because they cannot go back home? I mean, because even though in the doctor says corrects what's going on of the destruction of this universe, and everything goes back, she can't really manipulate what the angels generated to these 2 people. But if that was possible, that means the little girl could go back to where she was instead of being old. And we know that's how, because she was already dead as an old woman. She lived her life. So that's a little Yaz, and then that's going to be a little weird to deal with that. Because it ended up going back home, but the little girl couldn't go home. That makes me question what's going on here. That's certain, because Rory couldn't go back when he was grabbed like that. That makes me think like that. I like the previous one better than this one. This one jumped around too many times. Yeah, and I don't know how long the finale is going to be to try to resolve this. Now you got to deal with what's going on with Unit. You got to deal with the doctor. You got to deal with the man and wife looking for each other. You got a lot of jumping around, going around for a finale. I'm like, woof. That's gonna be weird. That's gonna be weird. And of course, you got a lot of people already upset, because I'm saying that this one is the doctor has all these multiple previous incarnations. It doesn't explain how River Song is to regenerate. It doesn't explain how come Matt Smith was saying we only got certain numbers. Why Matt Smith had to get a new set of regenerations when his final story came out. So that explains nothing there. And if that doesn't, and it turns out that the doctor was the timeless child, it turns out, and it doesn't explain the other characters that I met, this thing's a failure. And I'm sorry to say it, because we haven't seen the finale. It's got to get resolved. Because people who've been watching Who for a long time, I can understand you want to take certain things and tweak it a little bit, make it more mysterious, and make it more talkative like that. But if you're going to resolve certain spots like I just mentioned, it's a failure to me. It's a total failure. And that's funny. This is my opening statement. We got other people to talk. Let me stop right there.
Okay, DWC.
Well, okay. Oh. After a climactic ending to last week's episode, the opening for this episode made it almost anticlimactic. As it turns out, the Weeping Angels only transformed the Doctor for fun, and she was always going to be released. However, upon her release, we now finally see Division, the shadowy organization from Gallifrey, doing what the Time Lords swore not to do: interfere with events, all the while existing on the edge of the multiverse. Yes, Doctor Who has established E-Space and a parallel Earth, but now has finally established the multiverse. Like every franchise now. Now we also learn that the old woman seen earlier is in fact Tecteun, the one who found the Doctor, and the Master was telling the truth. Also, while Tecteun erased the Doctor's memories, they were still in a fog watch. Meanwhile, Dan, Yaz, and Jericho are on a search to get back to their times in a trip to Mexico to find a pot, to Constalipo to translate it, Nepal in search of a visionary telling them to fetch your dog, to China to leave a message for Calvinista despite not being a time traveler. On a side note there, no, you cannot actually see the Great Wall of China from space. And ending with meeting Joseph Williamson, finally learning why he made his tunnels. The Grand Serpent, as it turns out, is also much older than he looks, and was involved in UNIT's formation from the early days in 1958. Which is interesting, as according to the book of Doctor Who, the legend continues, the invasion was set in 1979, with Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart saying UNIT was newly established. Speaking of which, Corporal Lethbridge Stewart gets a cameo in voice form, and there's a reference to the War Machines. Also, the TARDIS has been with UNIT since 1967, and no one thought to tell the Doctor. Meanwhile, as the Grand Serpent kills his way through the ranks, with the exception of Kate, but not through lack of trying, we learn that he was responsible. Still search for each other. Vinda has now been trapped in a passenger with Diane by the Ravagers, who, with energy of the humans they've captured, have found their way to Division and have killed Tecteun. What happens now is anyone's guess. The Flux was already bad when Division were using it to wipe out what they considered a failed experiment. But what now that the Ravagers are in charge? Seems like only the next episode will tell.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one there. One of the things about this episode, yeah, I really wish they had kept that whole thing vague with the revelation and all that the Master threw at her, because then you could say, okay, it was all baloney. You could have interpreted those images and all that in any certain way, and you didn't have to necessarily tie them to the Doctor. I'd have left it so that, you find out eventually the timeless child's still somewhere out there in the universe, but nobody knows who it is because they use this to cover their tracks to go, all right, it's the Doctor, not me, kind of like a witness relocation deal kind of going on there. Throw it on somebody else, especially the Doctor being the renegade who's never on Gallifrey to get accused of it anyway. So, okay, someone does just happen to find a record and find out about it. Okay, it's the Doctor. We'll focus our attention on them. Meanwhile, the real timeless child is somewhere out there hiding. That's the way I would have left it. I wouldn't have said, was the Master telling the truth? That's all the truth. I wouldn't have done that. No, I would have left it vague and just wide open. So that way, anyone later on can interpret it any way they want. And that's one of the great things I love about Doctor Who. There's a lot of things out there that are open to interpretation. Like the whole previous Regenerations for Hartnell thing. That was originally brought up in the Brain of Morbius back in 76, I want to say. And so it's not a new concept. For some crazy reason, the new team came in back then, and they wrote this nasty little episode, which we all love, called The Deadly Assassin. And that's where they introduced the 12 regeneration limit. That's where Rassilon came from, because suddenly, instead of Omega creating a supernova that jump-started the time travel facility, it became Rassilon harnessed a black hole, which became the Eye of Harmony, and they all got overwritten. Now, later on, of course, Big Finish and others have incorporated, so Omega and Rassilon are both there. They kind of like cohabitated. They are both involved in it. So, all right. Now, we all know that back during the Seventh Doctor era, they were trying to throw more and more things at us about there was more to the Doctor than we imagined. Remember in Silver Nemesis, we had the lady, what's her name, saying, I know who you really are and all that, and trying to blackmail the Doctor into getting what she wants based off information he hadn't told anybody, apparently. And also when they were doing, I believe it was, oh God, give me a minute. It was the Seventh Doctor Dalek episode. Was that Revelation?
Yeah,
I think the Sixth Doctor one was Remembrance.
no,
I
that's
always
seven.
get those mixed up.
Seven is Remembrance.
All right, it was Remembrance. Thank you. Because I always get all this mixed up because you had Resurrection of the Daleks, Revelation, Remembrance of the Daleks, and they were running all R's there, and it throws me off. In that episode, apparently the Doctor was involved in some kind of thing to try to recreate the Hand of Omega. Because when he was going on about it, he goes, even we had trouble with that bit in the lab, or something along that line. It was a line like that he threw out. And they never touched on it again. So they're always kind of hint towards the end of the series and all that there was more to the Doctor. And of course, for you folks out there, go do a little reading about a thing called the Cartmel Master Plan, and you'll see what I mean. But this whole timeless child thing and all that, like, I understand people are upset, but it's a concept that was actually started back in 76, back before the Doctor had a definitive age. And before you saying I'm being foundless, go watch an episode, I believe it was in Mind of Evil, where you had the third Doctor. He was in an argument with somebody, and he blurts out, I've been a scientist for thousands of, and he cuts himself off when he realizes who he's addressing. He was about to say thousands of years, because there was no, even though Troughton's Doctor said something about being like 450 years old, there was really no defined age for the Doctor up till when they finally got around to Deadly Assassin. And that's when they started, the 12 regeneration limit, started nailing all this down. So they're kind of playing on something that did actually take place back in the classic series, but I think they could have executed it a bit better. Also, why they had to go into the whole founding a unit when you could have just simply had this guy come in, get involved, become a bureaucrat, which is not that hard if you believe it. Take a look at the British government now. Am I wrong? No. Hey, I read about these things. Especially when you got a Tory MP blaming Jodie Whittaker for male crime, but that's a whole nother thing. But you could have just easily had it where this guy incorporated himself into society, like, the Master did as Saxon. And he gets in there high enough that he shuts down units funding. Why they have him going through the trouble of creating unit just to shut it down later doesn't make any damn sense to me.
Yeah.
Why would you start the organization in the first place?
All you had to do was make unit fail in all their missions, and they would have been shut off. If
you really want to throw a curveball that would have caused a paradox, just why didn't he stop it from being founded in the first place? Then you got a mystery where you got to go find out what happened. A timey-wimey puzzle kind of sort of thing, where it's a Mandela effect where only certain people remember unit and all that. Why have this intricate story where this guy's created unit just so we can shut it down later? It don't make any sense. That part did not make any sense to me. So that's why I was like, and of course, folks, for you people who are wondering, yes, there is a theory running around that the Grand Serpent has something to do with the Mara. Guys, I highly doubt it, because let's all flash back a few seasons here where, we had Kill the Moon, little spider creatures. It's got to be the 8 legs. It wasn't. And then, of course, you had the plants in the forest of the Shite. It's got to be the Crinoid. No, it wasn't. So just because there's a serpent title involved and we have seen some references to snakes and all that, I would not say this guy has anything to do with the Mara. I'd like the Mara to come back, but only if it's well written. But I don't think the Grand Serpent has anything to do with the Mara. But okay, I've rambled on enough. We got hands up, so let's go over here to AJ. You had your hand up first, so.
Who commentator was first?
I must have looked at the screen. All right, go ahead, DWC, and then we'll go to AJ.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, among the characters in this episode, certainly one of my favorites was the visionary guru type character, purely because he was one of the most comedic, effective characters in this, and you don't usually get. I mean, Doctor Who's had some comedy, but in stories this heavy, you don't usually get something that heavy, and that was definitely a delight. Just to say, what's the gossip? I don't get any gossip up here. Don't have a newspaper. Also, something I couldn't fit in the opening statements was how Yaz is surprisingly proficient in getting rid of a body. I mean, I know she works for the police, but still, you.
Okay, AJ, go ahead.
While you were talking about the Grand Serpent starting unit and canceling it, dumb idea I really had. Maybe he started unit to make sure no other alien invasions happen until the Sontarans are ready to move in.
Oh, okay, yeah, keep the competition out of the country, out of the area till the guys show up. That's an interesting idea. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, like I said, they did throw a whole lot at people because there's a lot of people going on about how all this happened. But if it was executed okay, but like I said, there's just a few parts there I felt were unnecessary. Okay, DWC.
Another thing of note that I noticed in this episode, it seems Belle's story has been told out of order, like River Songs, because throughout we've been seeing that she has a Lupari ship, and all throughout the series I was wondering, well, how'd she get her hands on that? And now suddenly we see, oh, this is how she got her hands on the Lupari ship. And so her story has been told out of order this entire time, and that's why I was sort of saying the Grand Serpent. I mean, has it even been established that the Grand Serpent is even a time traveler? Because, like I said he's older than he looks, because we don't really know. Everything that we saw with the Grand Serpent before, that may have taken place years in the past, just a more advanced society, and he's now set his sights on Earth.
I know all I know is they better have a damn good wrap up for that whole Bell and Vendor thing, because I'm sitting there going, okay, I hope this ties in pretty well, because they've spent time on this, and I just hope it isn't what we all are suspecting it's going to be.
All I know is if it turns out what we suspect it is, somebody need to explain to me real carefully the existence of Susan.
True. Yeah. Oh, come on. Just because the doctor's immortal doesn't mean that he couldn't get busy. Come on.
No, that ain't it's not that. It's that the way Titanic made it, that Dr. rebelled that far in the past, that the memory had to get white. And and then they see the doctor was still traveling. I said, we're not really traveling, because we supposedly saw with Clara jumping in the past that the doctor stole the TARDIS with Susan, and then and nothing explained that. And of course, Clara was saying, "I went to all your lives, and Hartnell was number one, not anybody before that." So yeah, like you said, it gotta be a lot of explaining to this. It gotta be some explaining.
It's spacey wacy. It's timey wimey. Okay, Bo.
Yeah, I just want to say the Grand Serpent is kind of similar to Darth Sidious from Star Wars, because in Star Wars, Darth Sidious started and ended the Clone Wars. Like he ended the Clone Wars for the Empire to take over, and then in Doctor Who, the Grand Serpent and ended unit for the Sontarans to take over.
Oh, interesting thought. I didn't even think of it that way. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, anyone else?
I wonder why Tony didn't help Gallifrey during the Time War.
That's a good question.
That is her home planet.
Who, Tectayun?
Yeah, why she didn't do anything during the Time War?
Who knows? All righty. Well, any other thoughts? Okay, DWC, go ahead.
Maybe that was just the Time Wars, just one of the events Tectayun decided couldn't interfere in too much, or who knows? Maybe Tectonium did interfere and started the Time War in a way. You never know.
Yeah, true. That's a possible thought, that, or maybe she just, wanted the Daleks to wipe. Maybe she wanted those two races to wipe themselves out. It's a possibility. Okay. Any other thoughts, feelings? Going once, going twice. And we're going to go to rate this sucker. Well, two of these suckers. All right. So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to go to each of you and I'm going to ask you for two scores. One for, of course, Village of the Angels, and one for, of course, Survivors of the Flux. All right. Let's start at the bottom and go our way up. DWC. How did you rate Village of the Angels and Survivors of the Flux?
I rated Village of the.
All right, can you give me a rerun of that? You got your audio popped out. Not your fault. It's my end, I think.
I've always assumed it's been my end this entire time. I give Weeping of the Village of the Angels. I give a 10. Survivors of the Flux a 9. Get that?
Yep. Okay. William.
Village of the Angels, I give it a 9. Great horror story. It's a shame it didn't pop up before Halloween. That'd been cool there. And then the one we just the second to last, I get that one a 7.5. It's jumping around too much, and like I said, the finale gonna have to answer a lot of questions. And I don't mean just this story, the way it ends in the cliffhanger, that it looked like it's gonna grab the doctor and disintegrate her. That's a right there, right there. Yes, I forgot to mention disintegrating Tectonium. That's a lot of questions she could have easily answered, and you wiped her out not doing that. I said, man, 7.5. I'm leaving it at that. I would have knocked it down more now and realized about it. I'm leaving it at 7.5.
Okay, Bo.
Yeah, the Weeping Angels one, I'm giving it a 9, and the Flux one, I'm giving it an 8.
Okay, AJ.
Yeah, for the Weepy Angels, I'll give it a 9 as well. And for the Survivors of the Flux, I'm going to have to give it a 4. It was just, no.
I was thinking about that too.
Yeah, Village of the Angels, I'm definitely going to give a 9. Survivors, I can't give it any more than a 7. Like I said, there was just a lot of stuff that you could have just left out and still told the same story, and it would have been far less complicated. Well, folks, one more to go. Tomorrow airs, of course, the Vanquishers, which is going to be the conclusion of the Flux series, allegedly. But someone said this episode is going to be like 45 minutes long, y'all said?
That's it. 45 minutes.
That can't be right. You've had every other episode like an hour, and you think you're going to wrap this thing up in 45 minutes? Are you on drugs?
45 minutes? What? It can't be. That makes no sense there. 45 minutes. We broke it down by the plot of each thing. The couple, the doctor, the companions.
That gives you 15 minutes each main story.
Yeah, you're right. That makes no sense.
So yeah, like I said, it doesn't make any sense at all to me if it's 45 minutes. Oh well.
Then he's all about Dan and his missing girlfriend. What the hell?
Yeah. Plus, don't forget. Yeah, next year, of course, New Year's Day we got the one special. We got one in Easter, one in the fall for the centenary, and of course that's going to be it. And then we're going to have to go back into speculation land because everybody's still guessing as who the new doctor is going to be and all that. But that's a subject for another podcast. Nice. So please, everyone, take care of yourselves out there. Be kind. Have a good one. Wear your mask. Sanitize your hands. Do whatever because the Omicron variant is out there. Sounds like the name of a Star Trek episode. The Omicron variant.
That's Omega's little brother.
But yeah, COVID, it just seems like it's never going to go away, kids. Oh man.
It never will. That's what they name up there after it.
Well, until next time.
Have to learn to live with it.
Yeah. It's kind of like become the new herpes. It just keeps outbreaking every now and then. You gotta live with it. And it's a major pain. Okay, everyone. Now that I've made a herpes reference, everyone have a good night.
Let me see.